Tired of government-run, overpriced healthcare plans? It's time to take control. Ease is a health plan for hardworking Americans, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. You get lower premiums, flexible options, and freedom from state and federal mandates. Save thousands of dollars every year on your health coverage and pay zero deductibles. Visit easeforeveryone.com/Charlie to learn more. That's easeforeveryone.com/Charlie, because freedom in healthcare starts with you.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is here. So Anna, you are a transparency missile, like a Tomahawk missile. What do you make of this Epstein situation?
I think that the rollout has contributed to a lot of the reason why Americans are so upset, because there's so much conflicting information. And although I've exhausted all of my legislative abilities to obtain any information pertaining to Epstein, I'm going to be reaching out on behalf of the American people, because this is not just a Republican-based issue. It's an independent issue. It's a Democrat issue. There's an issue of trust that's been created because of how this optically looks right now. And so I'm going to be asking for information. No one wants CSAM materials. No one wants victim information, but they do want to know who was involved. And I think that that's something that the administration needs to divulge.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a lot of questions surrounding this. When you hear from voters, would you say it's one of the top issues you've heard about in the last week?
When yes, most certainly last week. I go online, my office is being called about it. And actually, when I initially ran for Congress, one of the top issues in my community that I represent is government transparency and ending government corruption. So this is not just, a fundraising thing for me. This is a legitimate issue. And I think, when you say that there's a lot of children that have been harmed, I think as a parent, it's a very serious issue. You want to make sure that people that were doing those bad things are being held accountable.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I think that's what makes people so angry about this, that I'm hearing from you guys, is that there's one rule of code. There's basically one standard for the elites and then a standard for us. And one of the powers of our movement was that we wanted the people to be back in charge. And I'm sorry, the fact that none of the super elite people that raped kids are in jail, but that we had January 6 prisoners that were facing years in jail, there's something deeply unsettling about that. There's something very wrong about that. Because from the best of my knowledge, did any of those billionaires that raped kids go to jail?
No, and I think, though, when you don't release information, even information that might not necessarily, like there's information, photos from the crime scene, all of that should be out there, because when you don't talk about it, it creates a void for conspiracy theories. And the thing is that if you're trying to be transparent, you're trying to disprove that, then there needs to be total and complete transparency in regards to those topics. What I will say is that the model on how the administration rolled out JFK, massive success. There's going to be document drops on Martin Luther King soon as well. They need to do the same thing for Jeffrey Epstein.
And transparency needs to be the goal. You have other announcements, too, of things you're working on. Tell us about it.
Well, I can tell you that just on Friday, kudos to the CIA Director Ratcliffe. He actually released previously hidden files, and I'm talking for decades, a file on a CIA operative known as Joe Nedes, who actually had known contact with Lee Harvey Oswald prior to the assassination on JFK. And per our findings, Charlie, a lot of people are saying, well, was there success in the investigations? Most certainly. What we know now for a fact is that the CIA engaged in a cover-up in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. We know that according to witness testimony, and also according from documents actually from the CIA in those document drops, that the CIA rejected the lone gunman theory, that there were multiple shooters, and that, in my opinion, a rogue faction of the CIA engaged in cover-up of the Kennedy assassination and had contact with those that pulled the triggers, and triggers meaning both multiple shooters.
And so when you start to look into this, I think this is one of the reasons why people are so fired up about it, is that Kennedy was one of the great violations against our own country's sovereignty by the intel agencies. Do you think Epstein had intel agency ties?
I think when you're looking, the Daily Mail just did a great article that came out that said he had passports with his identity and bags of diamonds. I don't know about you, Charlie, but I'm not rolling around with passports and bags of diamonds, and that does smell of intel operations, and I know that I've seen on the internet there's been admissions that he had ties to the intel community. So, look, if that's the truth, it needs to be out there. I don't believe in covering up for things, and it's not in my job description to cover up for those types of people.
Well, God bless you for that. Anna Paulina is doing amazing work fighting on Capitol Hill. And so much of this is hidden from Congress, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, we were. We made multiple inquiries and didn't receive a response. And I want to just also clarify too, though. I'm seeing a lot of people get caught up in this. Director Patel, Dan Bongino, they can't release anything unless the DOJ gives them authorization. The press secretary is not, she's not a bad person. So I see a lot of people that are angry, but they're misdirecting their fire, I think.
Well, I think that we need to, I know what the audience wants, and I know what the American people deserve. More than anything else, this confusion has, unfortunately, we signed the big, beautiful bill last week. No one's talking about the big, beautiful bill at this conference, right? They're all talking about this situation. Would you agree?
I have gone and I've done media all morning. The only question I'm getting is on this. And so what I will say is that there is information that we are going to be asking to be released. Obviously, I think that it's creating a trust issue, and I would argue that the biggest trust issue we had prior to this was the assassination of JFK.
Yep. And by the way, we still don't have all the answers of Butler a year ago with Donald Trump. Paulina, thank you so much.